Where are we at with this team? Give me a reason to be excited about this team. Like, I kind of got behind the idea of Aaron Glenn a year ago. He was saying the right things, and I liked the mentality. I was hoping to see it play out. Clearly, we did not post week one. It wasn't just his fault. They were a total disaster. I have a hard time, Dan, getting myself to a point where I think this team is going to be any good this year. Make a case for the Jets to be at least mildly competitive the entirety of the season.
You're not crazy. I mean, you're not crazy. Like, think about it. I think most people around the league probably feel exactly the same way as you do, right? I mean, why should you give them the benefit of the doubt? Forget about what happened last year, but I mean, just look at the history of the franchise, right? Last 15 years, they've had one winning season. And there have been a lot of kind of these false hope moments where, you know, you go into each year a little bit more optimistic than the other. I mean, how many... Case in point, when Aaron Rodgers got here, right? I mean, how much more optimism did you need when Aaron Rodgers came, right? I mean, you saw the hoopla, that 9/11, the Monday Night Football. I mean, people were picking them to go to the Super Bowl, and here we go. They were a quarterback away, and then reality strikes 4 plays into the season, you know? And then the next year, even though Rodgers was back, it was a 5-win season. Coach gets fired. So, look, you got to go out there and prove it, but I think if you're looking from last year one under Aaron Glenn to what's happening here in 2026, first off, the talent level on paper is night and day. Like, it really and truly is better. I believe that the changes he made to his coaching staff are going to be for the better compared to last year. I mean, Frank Reich diagramming the offense. I mean, this is a dude who's got Super Bowl rings. You know what I mean? Like, he's somebody that has been around the block, and you think that he is a professional coach and he's going to have free reign with that offense here. Glenn's going to call the defense. It can't get any worse than last year. We know that because it was that side of the ball that left a lot to be desired here. So he'll have his hands all over this thing. He says he knows how to deal with it and fix things like the back of his hand. But they also have some better players, too, starting with the guy that they drafted second overall this year, who I know it's practice and I know it's still August, but my gosh, this guy looks as good as advertised here. And we're talking about David Bailey, of course.
You liked the pick of David Bailey at the time, or were you an Arvell Reese guy?
I was 50-50. You know what I mean? Like, and I understand if Arvell Reese was here, they'd probably be using him a little bit differently than obviously you're using Bailey. Bailey's a pure pass rusher. But I mean, the immediate impact that he's made so far on the practice field, to where, like, you watch these practices, he's the best player out on the field, you know? And if you've watched not just the Jets, but any team, you know, even at this part of the NFL calendar and training camp, like, you've seen rookies, you've seen top 5 picks, right? Like, the special ones, like, you could tell right off the bat, just watching them, even if there's no pads or whatnot, this guy has those traits. Now, granted, they haven't played a preseason game yet, and we're setting the bar really, really high. But all I'm saying is that if David Bailey is as advertised as the number 2 overall pick in the draft, think about what that does for this defense as a whole, and then in turn helps this football team be a lot more competitive than they were a year ago.
Outside of Bailey, what stood out to you from camp? I mean, obviously he's going to pop. What about the veterans on defense? Anything on offense? Give me something else that stood out to you watching this team practice and training camp.
Well, you said veterans. I mean, on defense, they went ahead and brought in some dudes who, you know, they didn't have last year, meaning like guys that could come in, help lay the foundation, the culture. You know, Demario Davis, people, you know, he's 37, 38, whatever he is, but the guy's in phenomenal shape. He had a phenomenal season last year, still with the New Orleans Saints, but he's an Aaron Glenn guy. This is a guy who's going to be the quarterback of the defense. You know, you feel good with him in the middle of it. Minkah Fitzpatrick, who they acquired from the Miami Dolphins, like, he's, you know, had a lot of success. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, Pittsburgh, Miami, or whatnot. And some people are writing him off. Some people think that his best football is behind him. He's only 29 years old. He can still play. And I think that he's going to be a big addition to that secondary, and he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. The other thing that excites me defensively is they've got some beef up front on that defensive line, man. Like really and truly. T'Vondre Sweat, who they got in the Jermaine Johnson trade from Tennessee. Now, he hasn't played yet because he's still nursing an offseason hamstring injury. Hopefully that's soon. But this is a dude who's, you know, over 350 pounds. Like, he eats up 2 blockers every single play. You know, Darrell Jackson Jr., a rookie 4th rounder from Florida State, mountain of a man on that defensive line. You know, guys like David Omanyata, who they signed from the Atlanta Falcons, who's an Aaron Glenn guy from their days together with New Orleans. If those dudes up front tie up as many hats as possible, that's going to allow guys like Demario Davis, Jamie Sherwood, David Bailey to fly around and make plays on that defense, which, you know, I think will help as far as the secondary, because the one question I have about the defense right now is the corner position. Like, I don't think enough guys have gone out there and seized these opportunities, to be quite honest with you. So if that pass rush gets home a little bit earlier than you hope, then maybe those guys aren't asked to do as much on the back end.
I got to be honest with you. You're starting to get me excited about the Jets season
there you
here.
Go.
I mean,
yeah,
well, if they can play defense, I feel like the offense should, I mean, it's got to be better than what it was last year. Hard to be any worse. What do you think the Jets' identity is going to be this year?
It's a good question. I don't think they know the answer to that question yet, to be quite honest.
What does Glenn want it to be?
I think a hard-to-play team week in and week out, that's going to play for 60 minutes. Last year, they didn't have the capability to do that. They just weren't talented enough. They weren't talented enough, and in some cases, they weren't coached very well. And that's why those games got away from them very, very early. You mentioned the offense, though, and we've talked about this, for the last few weeks even. There seems to be more optimism regarding the Giants, right, than there are the Jets. But if you take the Jet roster and line it up 1 to 53 alongside the Giants, you can make a good case the Jets have a more talented team. They really and truly do. Like, their offensive line is rock solid, okay? Skill positions at wide receiver with Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, Omar Cooper, who hasn't gotten on the field yet, the rookie first-round pick. You got tight ends in Kenyon Sadiq, who should be returning soon, who's a first-rounder. Mason Taylor, a second-rounder a year ago. Breece Hall, who's got a world of ability in the backfield. They've got a lot of talent at the skill position players, but the two things right now that I think make people a little reluctant as to what this team could do, two most important things, the head coach and the quarterback. Let's face it, right? And that's why people are so high on the Giants, because you got John Harbaugh. Right. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. You got Jackson Dart, who showed you a lot of good things as a rookie. And that, to me, is where this season is going to lie. If you get a competent version of Gino Smith, not the guy who was in a horrible situation last year with the Vegas Raiders and didn't play very well because of it. He got caught up in the garbage, if you will. If you see improvement from Gino and just get the ball in the hands of these guys that can make some plays, then they are going to be fun to watch offensively.
Have you seen signs that could be the case with Gino? I mean, the worst quarterback in the league, some would argue last year, was Justin Fields. I would argue the second worst quarterback was Gino Smith. And the idea of him, forget even the off-the-field nonsense. I'm not even going to get caught up in that. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I've seen too much bad for Gino. He likes throwing to the other team way, way too much for my liking. Have you seen positive signs during camp here where you're like, you know what? Maybe in this offense with Frank Reich and Gino being matured, maybe he could have more of a season like we did with the Seahawks under Pete Carroll.
Absolutely. Now, again, just to illustrate how bad the Raiders situation was last year. Okay, remember, Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator. Right. Chip Kelly got fired midway through the season. Pete Carroll had to fire his special teams coordinator in the middle of the season, too. The offensive line was putrid. Pete Carroll's son had a hand in coaching the offensive line. He's not going to fire his kid. One of his other sons was on the staff, too, had a hand in the quarterback play. He's not going to fire his kid. Gino last year, I think he only played 15 games with the Raiders. Even though it wasn't a great season for him, he still put up better numbers than the collection of Jet quarterbacks that manned the position last year, which is not saying much. Don't get me wrong. But look, Gino's going to take shots, and I think that if you're a Jet fan, to see a quarterback actually try to push the ball down the field, which you didn't see last year, Justin Fields was afraid to throw the ball more than 5 yards if there was a chance that it would be intercepted. Remember, there was a stretch in the middle of the season last year where 3 out of 4 games, this is the NFL, by the way, in 2025. Justin Fields threw for less than 60 yards a game. Like, I mean, I still can't believe that happened. Think about that. This is the NFL in 2025. You had a quarterback throw for less than 60 yards in 3 of 4 games, which is mind-boggling. Gino's a pro. He's not the long-term answer. And I think that people maybe get too caught up in that. You know what I mean? This is a guy who's a placeholder. They have a ton of ammo to go get their guy if need be in 2027 with the draft and whatnot. You just want to see professional quarterback play. And this offense, score 20 points a game and see what your chances are when it's all said and done.